Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Advanced Level. Thank you for joining us. My name is Felipe Parada, and with me on the mic, as always, is Oscar Portillo. What's going on, Oscar?
Hey Felipe, what's up?
We're just going to get right into it. It's that
Yeah,
time. We're about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through the year.
just a little bit
So,
past.
so you know what that means, right?
What does that mean?
It means Game of the Year watch. Or, as we like to call it, games that we think are going to win Game of the Year for 2018.
We're watching. What? We're watching. What? I was trying with the puns, but
Leave it for later, because I feel you're going to have a good one. Both of us are
yeah,
going to
that
have
one
a...
I failed at that one. But
Yeah, but no.
don't
Hey.
edit that out.
So, there were a lot of good games so far.
This has been a strong first half.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the stronger first halves that we've had in quite a bit. I remember last year we had a pretty decent, first half as well. But you know what? We just gonna go into it. The one game that really, really, really gave it to us
They
early in the
went to
year,
war.
that really, really brought us into war. And you know what? We talk about this. I feel like we talk about this every podcast, and it just goes to show you how good this game really is.
Yeah,
We're talking about God of War.
yeah, it's one of the best games on the PS4. Probably the best game.
Yeah, one of the best, if not the best. And I feel that when God of War does win it, because they are going to win it, all right, I feel that their award should be the Leviathan axe. No cheesy,
Just
just no cheesy trophy. Just whoever comes up there, give it to Mr. Barlog and say, here's your award, and you literally give him a 1-to-1 scale golden axe.
I would be okay with that, but it should be like ice.
You, but then yeah,
I don't.
but then it would melt though.
That's true, but you
No, no,
have to
but
go
but
first.
I do no, I do like your way of thinking though. But then you would have to take the axe and then you would have to put it on ice
Yeah,
ASAP, because I can already see it. That would be such a cool novelty
visual.
piece. Yeah,
A very
not
good
only a
visual.
visual but a novelty piece.
Yeah.
We get the Leviathan axe and it's made of ice.
You had to put it on one of those things where when you can sip liquor from like
See, now you're taking it a step ahead. All right, I don't think they allow alcohol. Do they allow alcohol at those parties?
I think so. It's a party.
Yeah, there's always that one guy that sneaks it in though. You know for a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
He has it like hidden away in like a bracelet or something.
A flask.
Yeah, some sort of flask. There's always that one guy. He's like, oh, there goes Carl, spiking the punch again.
So yeah, God of War is I think it's definitely the game of the year.
And it was one of those games, and this is how I knew it was gonna be pretty much game of the year, because I legitimately took my time playing that game. There were specific points where I stopped myself. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait for this because I want to savor it.
Right.
It's not one of those games like how I've played in the past where I play it, I'm with it for like a good amount of time, and then I kind of get bored of it. And I didn't want to get bored of this game because the game is just so good.
They give you a lot. I downloaded it that night when it came out, and for a good month, that's all I played.
Yeah,
I would get home from work and turn it on and just go. And it was a good game because it wasn't short. That's one of the unsung things about it is it's a really long game.
yeah, for the amount of money that you paid for it, you're getting a pretty hefty game. And a
Yeah,
game that could be it's pretty much replayable even without the new game plus that they claim that we're going to get. It's
I
still
believe it. I think a lot of people are asking for it, so
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
a
gonna happen.
very, very replayable game.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just start from the beginning and but never mind the extra stuff that at the end game stuff,
Right.
the Valkyries and all the collectibles. Even if you just want to play it again, just from scratch, I think it is a replayable game.
There are very few games that, well, for me, this is just my
Hmm.
personal experience. There are very few games that after I'm done with it, I'll start it up again on a harder difficulty. There's only been 3 games that I've done that with. God of War being one of them. Horizon Zero Dawn, and surprisingly enough, the remake of of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the first one.
The new one.
No, no,
Okay,
no,
okay,
the
okay,
very first one.
okay.
Those are the only three games that I can remember recently that I can say once I'm done with it, I want to go back and I want to play it on a harder difficulty because they're just that well designed.
Yeah, and there's no you must really like it because there's no trophy for it. You know how some games beat the game on God mode and there's a trophy.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that because sometimes I feel that, and then again, I'm going a slight bit off track, but it almost feels kind of a chore when
When
when you're trying to play a game like how you said God mode just to get the
no,
trophy,
but that's what I'm saying. God of War doesn't have that. It doesn't have that.
and I'm perfectly fine with that.
No, that's we agree. That's a good thing. So you must really like the game in order because there's no extra incentive
Right,
at this point anyway to play the game again except that you really enjoy the game.
right, and for in your opinion, right, you would say that you've spent enough time playing the game, right?
Yeah, yeah. I did.
Okay. Now, I'm not talking about hours, right? That we're not going to get into that. But in your opinion, what is it about the game that puts it in the game of the year category?
I mean, I'm a guy. I'm a story guy.
Mm,
I like a good campaign, and that it had that. It had a good story. Even after the story was done, the main quest was done.
right.
There were little story tidbits that you can pick up.
Mm-hmm.
What was the name? The head Mimir.
Yeah, Mimir.
Even the stupid stories that he had. I love that stuff.
Yeah, but and it fit. It made sense. It wasn't just a waste.
But that to me was why it was Game of the Year. This is story mode. The world was so alive.
Right.
It felt lived in. It felt like it's been there. You know, some games try to do that and they fail at it. But
Right.
and also for me the combat.
Right.
What about you? What makes it Game of the Year
For
for you?
me, it was the combat. I would have to put the combat at the top. It felt right. It felt balanced, and there were some instances, and I don't know if you experienced this, but there were those sections where it was very difficult, but then there was those other moments that it was kind of a little bit easy. So there was like this ebb and flow of, it was a little bit difficult, then it got a little easier, a little bit difficult, and then it got really challenging, and then there were these instances where you wouldn't do anything. And I'm not talking about the puzzle.
Right.
Doing the puzzles. There were these moments where you're just rowing and you're just taking in the scenery and
Yeah.
you're just listening to the stories. And there was this perfect balance of combat, puzzle, story. And not many games can do that. Where it's just it's so well paced.
What I love about the combat is it reminds me a little bit. It was like Bloodborne light,
Yes. Yes, definitely like Bloodborne.
where when you die, you never feel the game cheated you.
Yes.
At least that's how I felt.
No, yeah, because if you died, right, it was because of a mistake that you made.
Right, exactly.
And I noticed that especially when you're fighting the Valkyries.
Oh
You
yeah.
came I forgot which one. I think it was I forgot what the name was. But we're talking about when you look at the health bar, right? And you're fighting and you're trying to get those extra hits. I had a little, like, it looked like a fingernail of health on that Valkyrie. And me being the person that I am, I tried going for that extra swing.
Yep, you went for that extra hit.
I went for the extra hit thinking I'm gonna nail that hit. And then again, I was kindly reminded that I need to slow it down a little bit. And it's
Yeah,
and it's,
but you never feel like the game cheats you.
no, not at all. And it's those little things,
Right.
that really bring the game together.
That's I'm a big fan of Bloodborne, and I'm glad that they took some aspects of the combat from It looks like it anyway.
Right. Because
They took some aspects of Bloodborne and put them in here.
that's another game also too that even though I actually started a new game plus right after I beat that game. And I don't
On
know
Bloodborne?
I don't know about you. Yeah, I don't know about you. But after I beat the game, and I got, I guess you would call it the super secret ending,
Right.
I felt so satisfied after I beat that game. Because obviously, but then again, you're going into the difficulty. You're going into these... No, but that game was just difficult from beginning
Yeah.
to end.
Okay, there's no difficulty.
There's no
It's just-
difficulty
it's hard.
spike. Yeah, it's just no easy, medium, hard. No, hard. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's no the game is hard. That's it.
yeah,
There's no
and there were instances where you're thinking, you're looking at some low-level grunt. I got this, right? So you're trying to sneak up behind them, and you end up losing.
That's what I love about that game. You can never underestimate even the grunts, even the low level players, the enemies.
And I got that same feeling playing God of War.
Yeah.
Like, you could get taken out by anybody at any time if you're not careful.
Right, if you're careless.
If you're careless. And I think that's what the combat, right? The combat did so well by implementing not only hand-to-hand combat, but using that Leviathan axe is just, like I said, I think the Leviathan axe not only should be an award, but should get an award itself.
Yeah.
Okay, because the axe just felt right when you throw it, when it comes back to you, using it to trip up an enemy, using it to solve puzzles. What I would like to do is I would like to throw the axe and have it kind of like hit a rock and just leave it there. And then, go in hand-to-hand combat, and when I have a couple of enemies bunched up, I call it back and I stun them. So you kind of like,
I'm sure you could have set that up.
yeah, it's you're using it as a setup.
I'm sure you could have done that because I've seen some videos on YouTube, and I've seen some creative ways to use the axe.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just you can come up with such creative ways to fight an enemy, and it's refreshing. It's a refreshing take on a weapon.
On the God of War, because you would think, oh, they're just gonna bring back the Blades of Chaos,
Right.
and that's it.
Spoilers, which they did.
Yeah.
They did bring back the Blades of Chaos, and don't get me wrong, it was a very, very heartwarming reunion, right? But it made sense for them to bring it back, considering where he was going.
In the story,
Yeah, and, as far as a story point of view. But man, that axe, there was just something about it that I used the axe more than I used the Blades of Chaos.
No, I agree with you about that. I don't know if you remember. I asked you one time, is it me or does it when you call the axe back? You feel something about it.
No. You felt it. Like even even me holding the remote. I don't know if it's the sound. I don't know if it's the animation, or it could be both. But there's just something about the moment, and I know which part it's the moment it hits your hand, the moment it hits the palm, not when he closes it, but the moment when it hits his palm, you feel like a thud. It's just this, and it feels, it feels like you feel the weight,
And it's a little details.
and I don't have it in my hand. I'm just, looking at it and experiencing it from the other side of the TV. But once that axe hits your hand, you feel it. You feel the weight of that hand. I mean, you feel the weight of that axe in your hand. And that's just amazing. For me, it's just like, oh. And
again, it's those little details.
And I don't know about you, but it doesn't get old. I can throw and I love throwing that axe during the combat, and it just doesn't get tiring every time you hear that thud once it hits your hand. It does not get. I thought I was gonna get tired of it, but no. Every time it hit your hand, it just felt more and more satisfying, and it's very hard to portray that feeling, especially in a video game.
Yeah, like you said, when you're on this side of the TV.
Yeah, when you're on the other side, it's just very difficult for you not only to experience a certain level of combat, but to get attached to a character, let alone get attached to a weapon. Let me tell you, if somehow that axe would have gotten broken or you would have lost it, I would have been very upset.
Again, they didn't have to do that little detail.
Yeah, they didn't have to do that.
But they did.
They did.
And that's appreciated.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the interview with Mr. Balrog, Barlog. And it's first of all, his name sounds so much like Balrog from Street
I
Fighter.
know.
I was actually calling him Balrog for
Balrog.
yeah for quite some time until somebody corrected me, and I'm like, still, just for the fact that his name is so closely resembles that name, that's epic. And you're a video game developer,
Yeah, that's
you
like
know?
you were born to do that.
Yeah, and for them to create that, and I read that for them to create this version of God of War, it was extremely difficult for them. They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know how they were going to continue Kratos' story. Because remember, at the spoiler alert again, but I'm pretty sure by this time everybody's played God of War 3. Kratos technically dies at the end of God of War 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know they're using this. They're not giving us all the details because they want to save it for the game. I'm still interested to know the exact moment he gets to Valhalla, not Valhalla, but he gets to
This area,
Midgard.
though.
Yeah, Midgard.
Yeah.
I would have to say Midgard. How did he get there? Who got him there? Who was the first person he met? So on and so forth.
That's a good because they never really go into that.
I tried going back and I tried looking videos on YouTube. Maybe somebody might have caught something, because the video game community is never short of eagle-eyed viewers.
Right.
People are picking stuff out left and right? So I'm thinking somebody had to have caught something, whether it be in a text, whether it be in a glyph, something. But they never really spoke about that. Now, I'm not upset about that, but I'm just very eager to know
How he got there.
how he got there. Did they teleport him? Did somebody grab him? How did he survive that moment where he died? What was it, the Mount Olympus that he died in? I'm trying to remember.
Would you be okay with, let's say, I just thought of this right now. What if it's just another story?
Are you speaking from a point of view of the multi-world theory?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what?
What if it's just another? They had nothing to do with Athens.
You know what? I would be perfectly fine with that. I would be okay with that.
I'm not saying I want that.
No. I would, it's very funny that you asked that, because there are certain points in the game where they kind of hint.
Well, I mean, the big thing is when you get the blades, and then what's her name shows up.
Right.
I forgot her name.
Is it Athena?
I don't want to say yeah because I don't know. I forget, but
Right. Where he kind of tells her, "Oh, I'm no longer your monster."
so obviously there is a connection.
There is, yeah. But who knows? You could be very right. They could decide to take this in a different direction and say, "Hey, it's just a new narrative."
Right.
They could very well do that, and I'm pretty sure whichever route they do decide to take, it's going to be for the best. Because
We hope so.
after what we've experienced, you know what? They know what's best for business. They know what's best for their game. Because I thought that's it. God of War was done.
No, we knew. I mean,
I knew
even
they were gonna
Go ahead.
they were gonna somehow bring it back, right?
Yeah.
But for them to take it in this direction, I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't know when we first saw Kratos. We didn't know this was like
I don't-
something like this.
And I still remember that E3 trailer. I still remember it vividly, and I remember my jaw dropping when I saw Kratos and his beard.
Old man Kratos.
Old man Kratos. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna be in for some stuff. And you know what? It delivered. It delivered. And in my opinion, all right, I feel that God of War is the game of the year. All right, we're not done with the year yet, right? And there's a lot of games that are still due
There's
to
a
come
big
out.
one coming up. A big game coming up in a few months.
You're talking about November? Is it November?
On top of Red Dead.
Is it? I'm trying to think. Is it November?
I want to say November.
Yeah, but that game is going to be October 26th. That
So
game is going to be up
That's the only
there.
game that I think can.
Now, you never played the original Red Dead.
I haven't even played the other one, the one that you.
No, when I mean the original Red Dead
I
Redemption,
know.
the original Red Dead Redemption, you definitely missed out.
I know. I don't know why I never played that.
Regardless of, I think I remember, it was the Wild West setting that you had it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not a big Wild West guy. I need to watch what. I only like the movie. Well,
Well, have you seen the movie Wild Wild West?
I have. I've
Please
seen
tell
it.
me that's not the reason why you hate Wild Wild West movies.
No.
Because you know what? You would have been justified. You
No,
would have been more
I
than
like Wild
justified.
West too much.
No, but despite the Wild West setting, right?
I just can't. I just something about that setting. I
And
just can't.
it's perfectly fine. You're justified in your reasoning not to like the Wild Wild West. It was a grimy time. People were dirty. There was sand everywhere. You have your
Is
reasons.
that a chlamydia real?
You know, it was the Wild West. You know, but the setting aside, right?
Right.
It was still Grand Theft Auto. I mean, Rockstar. They have that formula down packed.
I can see what I can respect it for what it did.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm not ignorant to what the game is.
Right.
I've seen the videos and I've seen the awards it receives. I know it's a big deal.
Right.
So I'm not ignorant to that. But it's just not for me. But again, that's the only game, in my opinion, that's gonna go one-on-one with God of War.
I think that's a very valid statement because all the other games that sort of we've kind of played here and there are the games that are going to be released later not in just pretty much in just a couple months, in a couple weeks, because I didn't realize we're pretty much in mid-July already. August is pretty much knocking at the door.
Yeah, well, the summer's going by pretty fast.
And next thing you know, once September hits, right, and we always go through that period where we're kind of in a drought for games, and then we just get drowned in not only games but very, very good ones.
Yeah.
You know,
The holiday rush. Or the holiday.
and you're sitting there and you're like, all right, I have enough money. You scrounge up enough cash. You go couch diving and you find enough cash to get yourself one game. It's like, oh man, now I gotta figure out which one takes priority.
Right.
You know.
Now you played Red Dead 1, correct?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have, and it's definitely game of the year when it came out, which I believe was 2013. It came out
You bought it, not me. I don't know.
2012, 2013, around that. It was definitely a game that deserved all the awards. Now, the game was far from perfect. The game was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Like you just said, you're all about story.
Yeah.
You're all about the narrative.
I know it had a good story.
It
I
had
know.
an amazing narrative, and it had one of the most saddest endings that I've had a chance to play in games. It was just sad, it was depressing. You kind of knew what was going to happen, but it's like you were kind of like in denial. You're like, no, I can get out of this. I can definitely get out of this. And you're like, no, it just ends up happening that way.
Do you know if Red Dead is going to be like a sequel
It's
or
a
a
prequel.
prequel? Or...
It's a prequel.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely a prequel. They kind of showed screenshots of the main character from the original Red Dead Redemption, Jack Marston.
Okay.
They showed screenshots of him, and I think it was like a short clip in their most recent trailer. So it is a prequel. They kind of explain how he joins, how the gang is formed, and what happens, and what kind of leads to their split. Which, at first I was kind of like, why are we playing a prequel? We kind of know what happens it would have been nice for them to sort of create a larger universe and give us a different character. Kind of like, have the events of Jack
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
kind of have the events of Jack Marston's story coincide with somebody else's, to try to build a universe, try to build lore, instead of
Right.
going the prequel route, and it's odd that they did that, but you know what? They're going to make it work. It's going to sell.
Maybe it's more of a business
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
decision.
It's going to sell. They're going to do it because maybe they're working on a different story, and this is just, just to let us wet our whistle a little bit, And,
I did hear it's going to have like a Grand Theft Auto Online type of environment. Is that correct? That's what I read.
Yes, it's going to be a.
I mean, just
It's not
Wild
going to
West.
be like, it's not going to be like an exact replica.
No,
You
no,
know,
no, I'm not
ob-
saying that, but
but obviously they've made, improvements to the infrastructure. Because remember what happened a couple years ago? We were promised heists,
you know.
and they didn't give it to us. They didn't give us heists until the new console was pretty much launched.
And even then, when it first came out, the heist was still not. Technically, it still wasn't up to par.
No, I think we had like one heist, but you couldn't even get on.
But I do remember we did pull off that one heist, and it was pretty exciting.
It was for them to include the heists, the multiple stages, and they did mention that they're going to have something similar, but it's going to be like they didn't say heist. It's going to be more like a raid, or where you're going to rob a stagecoach, and
Okay.
you're going to do that sort of thing, and it's very very cooperative based,
Okay.
which I like those modes in games where you have to really work together with the set of players in order to complete the objective.
Okay.
If they have those sort of things, heists, bank robberies, train robberies, all that sort of stuff, it's going the online component is going to be just as fun as Grand Theft Auto Online, or even more
And
fun.
you would probably more, yeah, you would think the day one stuff will be a lot better than the Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, of course.
So they'll take the lessons learned from Grand Theft Auto.
They kind of have to. I mean, they've had enough time, to really iron out all the details. And I'm still kind of upset that they chose. But then again, like how you said, it's more of a business move,
That's what I think. And
than
that's what
anything else,
I
because
assume.
there were rumors that they were actually developing story-based DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5, right? There were rumors, but
Mhm.
I forgot who they sent out a tweet saying, you know, they weren't going down that route because the Grand Theft Auto was just making too much money for them.
Yeah, it was taking off at that
It
point.
was just they were now don't get like the one thing I really did like about Grand Theft Auto Online, all the downloadable content was free.
Even now, to this day,
Till
just
this day,
recently.
it's free, and it's still making billions of dollars. Man,
That's the game that just prints money.
that literally they're printing money like the shark cards. Man, people are buying that left and right. And there's a small part of me. I know I've been out of it for a while, but I'm probably gonna get back into going back on Grand Theft Auto Online just to see how much the
Yeah,
infrastructure has progressed. Because you do have to admit we did have a lot of fun playing Grand Theft Auto Online.
we did. I'm not. We did.
Meeting up in our virtual apartments. Just ringing the bell.
And just fucking, just messing around, just causing chaos and
That
stuff.
that game, right? And whether it be the story or whether it be online, you didn't even have to have an objective, and you would just find your way to have fun,
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Grand Theft Auto.
and not your way of having fun, but a way of having fun.
Right.
There was something to do. There was always something to do. And I think that them implementing this in sort of the Wild West setting, because they did kind of have that in the original Red Dead Redemption, but it wasn't fleshed out like how it is with Grand Theft Auto Online. But then again, they've had the time and the experience
Yeah.
to really give you not only the story world, but an online world as well.
Was it more like Do you remember Grand Theft Auto 4? Was it more like that?
Yes, it was more like that. But they gave you a little bit more. They gave you more co-op modes.
Okay.
You had to do a raid on some sort of base. But now my question is, for Red Dead Redemption, right? Are you going to be able to pimp out your horse? That's my question. Am I going to be
I
able to
think
put?
so.
And can I put spinners on my horse?
On the hooves.
On the hooves? Am I going to be able to bling out my saddle? Put a couple rhinestones on it?
Maybe you'll have like a stagecoach,
Oh, how awesome would that be?
and then you bling that out.
You bedazzle it a little bit.
I mean, so ridiculous, but so fun.
But that's the thing. It's the absurdity that we could be riding around in a stagecoach, blinged out.
But let me ask you: you played the first one. With the first one, because the Grand Theft Auto kind of makes fun of itself.
It does. Yes.
That's what's fun about it.
Yes.
The first Red Dead, was there a little bit of that, or is it like real serious? And
No, the story had a little bit more of a serious tone.
okay,
But that doesn't mean that there was some instances where it would kind of it would kind of make fun of certain topics, like
okay,
oh man, what was one of them? You you actually come face to face with Bigfoot.
okay,
And it's still serious, but it still has that Grand Theft Auto type of humor.
okay.
So
Yeah.
yes and no. And I really hope that it does sort of have that type of humor in the next one, because it does look like a very serious game.
Yeah, from the trailer.
Yeah, from the trailer, especially Grand Theft Auto was a little bit more serious as well. Then Grand Theft Auto 5 took a complete right turn
And
and
yeah,
just made fun of society. And
even now it's probably more.
and now we're
um,
going towards a little bit more towards the serious side of it. But definitely a game that's going to be on par with God of War, I think.
Now, do you have any other games that might?
Yes, I actually played a couple of games, but another game that I've kind of really been putting a lot of time into it, a lot more time than I thought I would, right? Is Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
I've heard. Again, I'm not a Dragon Ball guy, so
Right.
but I've seen. I have a lot of friends that are obviously,
Right.
and everybody that has it raves about the game.
It is. I mean, it definitely, in my opinion, right? This is from my experiences, playing both games, and I have played both games. It definitely killed Marvel vs. Capcom.
Mm. And
It,
then
it,
there's
it
a
is.
bold, there's
It,
a bold
it is
statement.
because you had the
You
hard.
put that flag down. You put.
No,
You know,
I am putting the flag down only because I played the demo for Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and it feels like they missed the mark. The animation, the fighting style, it's no longer 3 versus 3. They made it 2 versus 2.
Okay.
Why would you do that? And then here comes Dragon Ball Fighter Z, refreshing new art style, one of the most popular franchises on the planet. One of the most recognizable franchises
Yeah.
on the planet.
No doubt about it.
Created by Arc System Works, which is obviously very popular with the Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear.
And I've seen some videos that we posted on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the animation looks crazy.
Yeah, the animations are crazy, and it fits that because, like you said, you're not a Dragon Ball fan, but anybody who has seen the show, the animations are off the charts, right? It's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's absurd. It's over the top. You have 2 to 3 episodes where they're just yelling,
Okay.
but it's the competitive nature of it, right?
And how's the combat?
It- it's-
Fighting?
I've had my, obviously, you've seen the battles that I've posted on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's not G1 worthy. It's not Evo worthy, but you do, you do see yourself improving after every fight, and that's because of the way that the game is designed.
You hold your own.
Yeah, I hold my own, and I've played against amazing fighters, like people who really know the intricacies and the ins and outs, when to use assists, when to pull out of a match, when to switch, like people who really. And then I play against those people who are pretty much playing God mode.
Right.
The game is designed that you could pick it up, right? Not knowing anything about the fighting structure, about the fighting combat, the combos. You could pick it up and you could hold your own against an experienced fighter. Now,
Mm.
a lot of people were kind of upset about that because it's like, well, what about people who button mash?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where there are certain gameplay mechanics that are implemented to counteract people who like to button mash. But anybody could pick up that game and become really good at it because of the way the game is designed. The combos are super simple. It's easy to pick up but hard to master.
Okay.
It's one of those type of games. And just, it's kind of lacking a little bit in the roster, but
How many right now?
Close to 20. I know they released two more fighters. I think it's 20 or 21, but it compared to the Xenoverse, compared to
Okay.
other Dragon Ball games, the roster is a little bit lackluster, but it makes up for it in the gameplay. Trust me. And
How
that's
do they handle the DLC?
they charge. You could either buy the bundles, like they sell 4 characters in a bundle. You could buy 2 character bundles, the 4 character bundles, or you can buy each character individually.
Okay.
So it's a la carte. Like if you don't want to buy Broly or Bardock, you don't have to buy them. You could just buy whoever you want. And
And that's not bad.
yeah, and it's giving you the ability to buy the content that you want, which is great. But at the same time, it's like they have the ability to really, really, you know, expand the roster beyond its limits. You know, because they could literally just add any character from any saga, any movie, and just now they're in the game, and they could really make a lot of money off of that. You know,
Now,
but
do you think the fighters are balanced?
late they just released a new patch for it, and it kind of fixed a lot of the imbalance issues. But
Okay.
there's certain characters that
Oh, still.
are just way too overpowered. Like me, for example, they released a tier list. Like every couple of weeks, they kind of update it and show you who are the more popular characters that are being used,
Okay.
which characters are the most powerful. So they kind of give the competitive aspect of it. They kind of give the fighters like, okay, what are the odds of me coming across a certain character, right? So they kind of give you the ability to try to counteract it.
Okay.
You know, so it keeps it very, very competitive. But of course, in my opinion, you know, you can have characters like Vegito and Majin Buu that are just, for some strange reason, whenever they patch them, they're just still way too overpowered. Way too overpowered. But you know what? It's one of those things where you find a character that you like, you find a character that works well with other characters, and you know, they're just in every fighting game. There's just
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
that one character that's just going to be way too overpowered.
But
In my
they
opinion,
always
yeah.
try to.
Oh yeah, they're always constantly updating the game and giving new
Okay.
patches. They're making the effort, which is great. I mean, the game itself, the way it is right now, it's near to perfect. I mean, granted, yeah, when you go online, you're gonna always come across lag issues, and you know somebody's always gonna have a cheaper connection, but
I was gonna ask that next. Online for the most part.
it holds up very well. It holds
Okay.
up very, very well. You know, and they're adding new modes. They added like you can watch your replays. They added an arena. They're slowly starting to gear it more and more towards the competitive scene, which
Okay.
I've always had a problem with it. You know, but in this sort of game, it just
That's the nature of
yeah,
the fighting
that's
games.
just, like you said, the nature of the business. But you know what? I have no problem this game being in the competitive scene because it's just that good.
I mean, once a popular fighting game gets out, it always ends up in the fighting scene, in competitive fighting. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What other games have you played that you feel are contenders this year?
I don't want to say contender, but I do have to mention it. It did come out, Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay, all right. That still falls within the category of a game that was released this year. So, yeah, I mean, even though it's a remake. Now, since you've played it, right? Is it a remake? Is it a remaster? Is it a reimagining? What is
All
it?
the above. It's
All
that.
of the above, really.
I'm sick of all these labels. I don't know what that means. I know what it means, but like,
They
Who
have to
cares,
label it.
right?
But now I'm gonna ask you: was Agro's Death reimagined? Was it remastered? Like, how did they handle that specific? And the reason why I'm asking is because
you
that
can't
is
handle it.
that's the reason why I'm not buying that game. I'm sorry,
I've seen him
Sony.
die 3 times already.
Oh Jesus Christ! I can't. I'm sorry, Sony. I know
I'm
you've
always
put.
hoping that they do a patch where he makes that jump.
Can't they release a mode where like Agro lives? Like, come on, guys! Like, you remaster this game, you would think let us create an alternate timeline where he lives.
The only thing they would have to, I mean, extra nerdy here, but they would have to reimagine the end as well. So, he does live, by the way.
He does? Well, in our hearts.
Oh, like, spoiler alert.
I
He
know.
does live. But
But
at the end, he has like a broken leg.
thank
He might
God.
as well be dead at that point, right?
Yeah, he might as well be dead at that point.
I mean, with a horse with a broken leg in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of some.
So he might as well be dead.
Yeah, that is death sentence with a girl and a baby.
Oh man, that's rough.
Comes back, the wanderer comes back as a baby. So anyway, for me, I mean, I have to mention it because I do love that game. Like I said, I played the HD remaster.
Uh-huh.
That was a remaster.
Right.
The one for PS3.
Right.
I played that one. I played the original. When I saw the trailer, I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to play it again,
Right.
but I got caught up in it. It was only $40.
So what got you to play it again?
The combination of at that when it came out, I don't remember there being that much coming out at that moment. I don't remember, and it was only $40. I can't put $40 on my nostalgia.
Right. So you
I just love that game. It's amazing that I remember everything to do. Once the music hits, I get a feeling. Don't laugh.
That music. No.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because there's a little bit of truth in that.
The music hits, I get a feeling, and then once that first one comes, I know what to do in all of them because I've played the game a bunch of times now. So, and I played that time attack mode. I played the theater mode,
right.
Whatever the one mode.
And I remember playing that game, right? And this is going back to the PS3, right? To the PS3.
Okay.
Right? And I remember playing it, and I remember asking myself, how is it that a game that has no dialogue whatsoever?
And very little dialogue. There is dialogue, but it's very little.
It's very little dialogue, but for the most part, you're just roaming around, and it's kind of quiet. It's kind of somber. It instead of those, those instances where the music hits and it gets a little bit intense. But for a game that has very little dialogue, it invokes a sense. It invokes a feeling.
That's what I love about the game.
Yeah, and that's what.
The same thing over and over again. It's something so different.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it invoked a feeling, right? And it stuck with you. And I'm thinking, wow, for a game that has very little dialogue, right? You're riding around, and for me to feel a certain way for when an animal dies.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's your only companion throughout the entire game.
Yeah, you're only one, and that's it. Gone. What do you do? Because there was literally a moment where after I processed it and accepted what happened, there was that moment where like, oh, okay, really, what do I do?
Oh yeah, I have to move on now.
Yeah, I gotta move on, but where do I go?
I get that.
So it's very rare that a game can invoke a sense of emotion.
But those are those type of games. What's the other game? Ico.
Right.
The same thing. Those are those type of games where.
You want to hear something?
Yes.
I never played Ico.
I've never played. Like you said, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption, so I can't talk.
Okay. All right. So
there's a
we're
bunch
even.
Of games.
We're even.
Yeah. I mean, Ico is an acquired taste.
Right.
It came with the bundle for PS3.
Right. That I do remember.
And I didn't even finish it. I just that game I didn't like that much.
Interesting.
I am interested to play The Last Guardian.
Which that came out when 2016 it came out?
I didn't know it last year.
Was it last? Oh yeah. Oh no. Well, it's been like 20 years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But
I'm interested to play that. Just because I want to see what.
Add that to your backlog.
I will. But we had to talk about Shadow because it came out this year and I love that game. I can play that game over and over again. It's a work of art.
It is. You know what? That's the best way you can put it. It is a work of art. I mean, because not only, and this was another thing I was going to say, not only did it give you a sense of emotion, but it gave you a feeling of scale.
That is the one thing that I noticed right away.
Yeah.
In this PS4 version, was a sense of scale.
Now, did they add
going over the beach, You're riding over next to that bridge. Um, the camera pulls back, and then you can turn on the photo mode. Um, I love that they
Yeah,
added
I
that.
would have been really upset if they wouldn't have not added photo mode to that game. That game just looks like it needed a photo mode.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they did. You've seen some of the stuff, some of the shots that I've done.
Yeah,
Uh,
they came out really good.
so, just you're right. I'm glad that you brought that up. The sense of scale is amazing.
Because I remember the first time when you come across that first Colossus, and it kind of turns to you and it starts walking towards you. The music hits, and then as the Colossus is getting closer and closer, you really you feel so small.
Yeah,
And then you go through the process of trying to climb the monster and trying to take it, and it's trying to shake you off. And everything that it did.
and even when you're on top of the head, they did this little detail where birds are flying
Really?
past, and like that gives you a sense of scale when just these birds are flying past, minding their business.
Yeah, and that means, yeah, I'm high up.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
You know, I better not make any wrong move, or that's it. That's it for me.
And then just to try to figure out how to get on it. I can't imagine I wish there was a way that I could have brought myself back when I had no experience in it.
Hmm.
That I could play it for the first time for the PS4.
Right.
I wish I knew what that felt like. Because I don't remember a time when I don't know, and then how how do you bring this thing down?
Right. See,
Like,
but
what do
but
you do?
that's part of the fun though.
Yeah, it's a
Trying to
puzzle.
figure out, because you're not given, you're just told, okay, you need to bring down this monster. That's it. How you do it, that's part of the fun.
Right. I mean, some people have called it a puzzle game.
Well, yeah, I mean,
The Colossus are just puzzles, and you have to figure it out.
yeah, that's a good way
I, I
of
can I
that's a
can
good way of
see
looking at it. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's any other game that you can think of in your list?
I mean, I've played, and we're gonna kind of switch gears a little bit. Um, as far as going from action role playing, action adventure, a little game on the 3DS called Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Now you need to explain this to me, please.
Okay, it's pretty much you're playing as Toadstool,
Okay.
and the purpose of the game is you need to find treasure.
Now how do you do this?
Now, the most interesting part of this game, right? It's considered a platform, like a puzzle platform, right?
Okay.
But what happens, especially within the confines of a platforming game, what would happen if you remove the jump function?
Hmm.
Okay, and I think this is where like Nintendo as a company, they really know how to make games, right? Because this game was released on the Wii U, but it didn't really gain that much traction, and they've just released it on the 3DS and the Nintendo Switch, right? And it's a game about you pretty much just collecting treasure. But you remember how in the game Fez, which I know is a game you really liked, how you're able to sort of turn the environment and it opens up a new path?
Right.
It's the same exact concept where you're trying to get to an objective and you have to kind of turn the environment in order to open paths,
Ah.
try to create new paths, try to take out monsters, trying to find secrets to get to that star. And what works really well is the fact that you're using, remember, it's a 3DS, so you're playing the game in 3D, but you're able to see certain things with, using the 3D that you wouldn't have been able to have seen if you're playing it on 2D. You know what I mean?
And that's only because it's in 3D.
Yeah, the 3D function is just as important as the game itself. But the thing is that every time I've played it, I've discovered something new just by turning the world and looking at it, examining it through the 3D. And I
So
think
you're literally like in Fez, you're turning the
exactly
environment.
you're literally
Okay.
turning the environment, looking for treasure, looking for these secret areas in order to help you to collect a star. Because in Mario games, it's all about collecting a star, like the end star, which is like the biggest star, right?
Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's set within, I guess, the new Mario game.
Okay.
What's the new Mario game? Oh my god, I can't believe I don't remember.
I don't even know.
Mario Odyssey, right?
Okay.
It's kind of set within the same universe because they do give you some stages from Mario Odyssey.
Okay.
You know, so and I'm playing it and I'm like, you know what? This is what Nintendo does really well. There is no other developer out there that could compete with these type of games because Nintendo, they just have a stranglehold on these type of cutesy type of puzzle platform games.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? And I thought it was going to bother me. I'm like, how am I going to be able to play a platforming game if I can't jump? You know what? The way the game is designed, you even forget that, like, you know what? There's no jump function. You know, because
it's a design feature.
Yeah, and it's just so well designed. Right? And it's been a while since, you know, like I said, I take public transportation, so I like to have, you know, play a quick game, you know, every now and again.
So, but you said you bring your 3DS with you at work, right?
Yeah.
To work.
To work, yes. I play it in very short intervals. I think a lot more games need to have that, especially when you're looking on mobile, whether it be mobile, 3DS, you know, a lot of games need to sort of be designed with just quick pick up and play, which this game does really well. Each stage is there's a lot of stages too. I don't know the exact amount, but there's a lot of stages. But each stage is short and to the point, short and sweet.
Okay.
You know, and each stage is replayable because you're not going to be able to get everything in one shot.
Okay.
So there's like that kind of Metroidvania where you can go back to previous stages and kind of uncover something new. You could discover new things, and you know, when you're playing certain levels, you're thinking, oh wait, if I go back to stage 2 and use a technique that I discovered in stage 5, will it uncover something new? Which it probably will.
Yeah.
So there's that game where it's like it's short and sweet, and you could play as many stages as you want. You know, and it's just a very well designed game. It's cute, it's short as charm. It's a Nintendo game, and Nintendo games know how to do that.
Yeah,
I was completely shocked by how good this game is. How good this game
Nintendo
is.
does that really well.
They do. And I
making
really,
like a puzzle game, but kind of cute, but not too cute.
Yeah.
Where it's a kid game, but just cute enough.
But what other game have you played that you feel that should be on this list?
Well, I can think of games that are coming up. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a budget gamer, so I try to buy games.
We're all kind of, especially nowadays, we're budget gamers. Ooh, that should be a new topic for another podcast.
Yeah, well, write that down.
The budget gamer.
Right. I can tell you what I'm looking forward to, and then Darksiders 3.
Okay, did you finish part 2?
I finished part 1. I got far in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't inclined to finish it, but I can't see myself going back. I like the RPG aspects of it.
Right.
You know, they have. I don't know if you played or how much you played of it. But you can swap out gear.
Of course, yeah. So there's more of an RPG element to the game.
Right, and that wasn't there in part 1. I enjoyed that. I hope they keep that stuff. I just wish they would tighten up on the combat a little bit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't feel right to me. The first one I really liked.
I always felt that series was kind of overlooked.
You're right about that.
It was so underrated.
You're right about it. It's one of those games that nobody talks about, but when you play it, it's really good.
Yeah, you're wondering why people are not talking about it.
That's a good point. We're glad that because this THQ thing, it could have easily killed the entire franchise.
Oh yeah, they could have ended it.
So I'm glad that did not happen.
Because it does a lot of things well. It does the combat well. It has good RPG elements. You know, it does. There's a good mixture of combat and platforming.
Story has a decent story.
And yeah, it has a decent story. It has good voice acting.
Yeah, it did a solid game. The only thing maybe it doesn't. It's kind of like a Zelda clone a little bit.
Right. I mean,
maybe it doesn't out Zelda.
The only issue I had, especially with the second part, and I don't know, it could have been it could just been me. I felt like the pacing was off a little bit.
That too. Um,
Like
because
you have these moments where you're like the combat is really good. You have the gunplay, you're using your scythe, then you're solving a puzzle, and then there are these moments where it's like long stretches of
oh
just
yeah,
riding on the horse.
yeah. Or you're running down the corridor and
Yeah,
nothing's happening.
yeah, nothing's happening.
But you're right about that. That's a good observation. Especially that horse when you're riding around that horse.
Oh, I love that damn horse. Then
It's
again, another
cool,
it is, but it's
but
just
with those moments that you're riding and nothing's happening.
yeah, it kind of lessens the impact because when you're in the combat, you're pulling out all these combos, and it's kind of like Devil May Cry-ish,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is what I really like. I just wish that, like I said, there's very few games that know how to pace a game well, and I felt like this game kind of suffered from it because
Part two in
yeah,
particular.
part two in particular. I think part one there was a good balance of
Yeah, Part one is
exploration.
one of those games. You're right. It doesn't get talked about that much, and they should.
And I really hope that Darksiders 3 really brings the franchise to the forefront. I really think this franchise really needs a moment in the sun. You
You're
know,
right, because we've been. I remember we played the first one when we didn't even kind of know what it was, and then I remember I went over to your place and you were playing it on Xbox, I think.
yeah, and it was a good game.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and I'm glad that we're getting a part three.
There's also two other games that I'll talk about briefly that I think fit within the category of game of the year. One
No,
being Monster Hunter World, which
now,
is
have you? Do you have? I don't know if you have it. Do you
no,
have
no,
it?
no. I
Or?
haven't had a chance to buy it, but I have
Okay.
played enough. I played a lot of the beta,
Okay.
and this is a game that a person, and I've actually seen people spend 300 to 400 hours in this game because it's just structured for you to spend that much time in a game. But it's grindy, yes, but you always feel like you're working towards something.
Now, what about is that the main reason why you enjoy it?
I mean, going
Right?
around slaying monsters,
Yeah, I guess. What's not to like about that?
what's not to like about that? But it
Right.
also has, then again, it also has a little bits and pieces of Bloodborne in it,
Hmm.
where you're going into a monster, and the cool thing is, when you're fighting a monster, there's no health bar, so you don't know how much longer it's going to take for you to take that monster down. And these monsters are huge, right?
Right.
And it takes a team of four to bring it down, and you got to work together. And sometimes the monster tries running away, and you have to retrack it through the jungle, and it it does leave a poop for you to sift through.
Okay.
So it's that type of structure that people really enjoy. And remember, it's the first one that's come out in a while that's on consoles.
Oh, I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, because it's been mainly on the 3DS, and I did play
Oh. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Monster
Yeah.
Hunter Ultimate on the 3DS, which then again, another amazing game. But this game needed to be on the consoles.
Yeah, that's one of those franchises that you can see that it's popular, but it has its audience.
Yeah,
But it hasn't until now. It hasn't broken through.
like it has its hardcore audience,
Right, but that's it. It only had its hardcore audience
but
until now.
yeah, but now it's like it's gaining the sort of casual audience that it desperately
Right,
needed. It
right.
desperately needed that audience, and I think this game, and all the DLC is free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're getting
Mhm.
new monsters, new gear, new missions, new events. They just had I think they're having a crossover event. I don't know if it's Final Fantasy. I think it's Final Fantasy, but the online Final Fantasy Online. There's a
Okay.
crossover event. They have a lot of crossover events too.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's cool.
Definitely an interesting game, But damn, I don't know if I could sink that much time into that game. Which brings me
Is
to
it
the
one of those games that you have to sink a lot of time into it?
you don't have to, but in order to really benefit from the gear,
Okay.
you're gonna have to craft. You're gonna have to grind for materials, and it benefits those who really put in the time, right? And the last game that I'll make a quick point. I was kind of skeptical on bringing it up because it's technically coming out next week, but it's already been out for 2 years.
Right.
And I brought it up last podcast. I'm gonna bring it up again. No Man's Sky, a game that I've sunk a lot of time into.
And that's one game you sunk a lot of hours.
Yeah, a lot
Like
of
month.
like
Not
a
like month.
lot of hours. Surprisingly, more hours than I thought I was ever gonna sink into this game. And I'm kind of skeptical on bringing this game up only because technically Xbox is getting this game for the first time.
Yeah.
They're getting the full experience for the very first time. So
Are you a little salty about that?
you know what? Can you tell? Can you tell in my voice? Can you tell? I mean, I am a little salty because I felt like
I don't blame you.
I felt like the PS4 was kind of like the beta test.
Yeah.
And
But at least you could say that you went through the
Well-
worst of times. Now you're at the best of times.
went through the growing pains
Yeah.
because there.
At least you have these stories to tell that you can play. You can say that you played the game. I don't know when it sucked or whatever. When-
Yeah. No. And this they're getting the most perfect version of the game.
And you mentioned there's a patch coming up too.
Yeah, there's the patch that we're getting on the 24th, and Xbox is getting the brand new game the 24th. So I have a feeling that this game, its current, the way what they're going to patch, and this game's going to get a lot of new content. I have a feeling that this game, especially for Xbox users, that it could possibly be a Game of the Year contender.
I mean, if it's as good as if that patch delivers what it's saying it's gonna deliver.
if it delivers any, even remotely close to what Sean Murray said in his interview with Xbox, there's no doubt that this game is going to be Game of the Year worthy. I'm not going to say it's not going to be a Game of the Year, but it's definitely going to be in the running.
Should be in the conversation.
It should definitely be in the conversation. And once again, I'll say it again, Hello Games has kind of set the standard for how developers should develop their games 2, 3, 4 years into its life cycle.
Well, they keep supporting it and free. For mine, it's free content, right?
Yeah, it's free content and it's amazing. They knew they messed up, so the next best thing they could have done is just provide us with the content, which they did.
Yeah, they could have easily just kind of been, oh, whatever, screw it.
Exactly, which other companies have very well they've
Right.
abandoned the game 2 years in.
Right.
But no, and you know what? I'll say that it's a Game of the Year worthy, and I'm pretty sure it will be.
I'll go with your word on it. Maybe one day I'll buy it.
One like I would recommend it. I mean, remember on PS4 it's like $20 or even cheaper.
I'm waiting for it to be on PlayStation Plus.
You might be waiting a while. You might be waiting a while, but
Isn't it a first party game? Isn't it?
yeah, it was a first party game.
Oh yeah, you're right. Now it's not.
What about you? What other game you think should be added to the list? Before we wrap it up.
We should talk about Far Cry 5. I mean, I haven't played it, but I know it's a great game. I have a friend that played it. I don't know if you're a fan of the Far Cry series.
No, I am. I played Far Cry 4. I didn't get a chance to play Blood Dragon, which you have.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Did you play the dinosaur one?
Primal.
Yeah, did you play that?
No, I didn't get it, but I did. I had people on my friends list that played it, and they said it was good. So I am a fan of the franchise, and Far Cry 4 was very good. The environment, the villain, they know how to do open worlds. But I'm just talking about like the open world, like the environment itself.
Yeah.
They've got
I've heard Far Cry 5 is that times 10.
good because they have had the time to really perfect the way they do open worlds, and I think they've gotten it to to that point where they really nailed down the environment, and it really looks like rural Montana. It really looks like this place really exists.
Yeah, so I do think we should mention that. A game like that should always be in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely Far Cry 5. I mean, like I said, we still have a couple months to go. You know, there's still one or two major games that are definitely going to be in the running. You know, that are just going to be thrown in because of the pedigree that these games have.
I mean, like a game like Call of Duty is supposed to make some type of comeback. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm interested to see what that does. I'm a big fan of the Tomb Raider reboot. Let's say, I don't know how you want to call that.
Yeah, the reboot was just it was definitely needed, and they did such an amazing job with it.
Well, even the second one as well, the more recent one.
There's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Which one's the newest one? The one that's coming out? Because I know that it was the original Tomb Raider, and then there was the Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Okay,
yeah. It's Rise and then Shadow.
I actually have Rise, and I have to finish that game, by the way.
Another game in your backlog. Don't get me wrong. I have my list too.
But Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a game. Ever since that original reboot, they've really been doing a good job with these Tomb Raider games.
Definitely, I could definitely see it.
I definitely want to try Detroit.
Okay.
I don't know if it came out already. I definitely want to. I'm a fan of the.
Even after playing Beyond Two Souls, because
I've heard good things about Detroit.
Oh no, Detroit definitely looks like a game that I would want to get involved in.
We have about Fallout 76.
Oh, that's right. That's another one that's gonna make headlines. But my fear with that game is its initial launch, that window.
Yeah, but you know that always with every online only game. That first couple of days is always rough, but they'll work out the bugs.
I have a feeling once this game like really cements itself, it's gonna take off running. All right, guys, so that kind of wraps it up for this episode of Advanced Level, where we were talking about, games of the year, or games that we thought were Game of the Year's contender.
Yeah.
So, as always, you can visit us on www.levelbasedgaming.com.
You can visit us on YouTube at Level Based Gaming, follow our Twitter, and Podbean at Advanced Level.
And once again, we can't thank you enough for joining us again on this podcast. If you have any ideas for episodes, leave us comments below. Reach out to us. You can email us. Just get the conversation started. But as of right now, my name is Felipe. The other guy on the mic is Oscar.
And we're out.